There's a study that is getting popular, but it actually came out in 2017. And the title of this study that we're talking about is The Biological and Cognitive Underpinnings of Religious Fundamentalism.
Damn, okay. Getting into some heavy shit here.
It is very scientific. Again, I tried to make it understandable. I'm going to try my best to make it understandable. I am very interested in neuroscience. And so there's a lot of things that I can be like saying and just a lot of people won't register. But it's like, oh, I'm consistently studying neuroscience. I love neuroscience. And so I tried to make it not too many big terms. But just to give some background on the study, on what we're looking at. So the way the study is done, and you know this, you've taken a lot of science classes, is you normally have a control group and then the group you're doing the experiment on.
Yeah.
So this study took place at the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, and here we go to saying names of places.
Give it to me, baby. We have nothing to prove.
Bethesda, Maryland. I think I said that right.
Bethesda?
No, Bethesda.
Bethesda.
I looked up how to even say it, and just when I came up on it, I was like, I can't say it.
You're good. We got it.
It was part of the Vietnam Head Injury Study Registry's Phase 4 research.
What is that?
So it's consistent research on studying trauma of the brain. So Vietnam vets that have head trauma, we do brain scans on them, and we run tests and stuff and see like what if you had prefrontal cortex trauma, what else are you experiencing in your life? The team involved were merely researchers from this institute, including experts in neuropsychology, what I'm going into or trying to go into, and brain behavior relationships. They focused on a group of male Vietnam War veterans who had sustained penetrating traumatic brain injuries and included a control group of uninjured veterans for comparison. All right. So that's just
so
setting up the
basically
study.
Veterans with head injury, veterans from Vietnam War head injuries with veterans from Vietnam War no head injury.
Yep. Okay. So the study involved Vietnam War veterans divided into two groups, 119 with brain injuries and 30 healthy controls, veterans without brain injury.
I just said that. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's totally fine. The more we say that, the more it's what we're studying is very obvious. That's the whole goal is.
It's very obvious study.
Everything I've already said was pages and pages of way too much information.
Right.
The focus was on how injuries in the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for cognitive flexibility and openness, influence religious beliefs, specifically fundamentalism.
So the prefrontal cortex influences
flexibility and cognitive flexibility and openness. So being open to new ideas.
Okay.
Curiosity. Creativity.
Curiosity.
Yeah. Being curious. All of that.
Which is the fertilizer to evolution.
Prefrontal cortex.
Prefrontal cortex is a big deal.
And so they're studying this on the, specifically with fundamentalism. But let's figure out what is fundamentalism. If you're not part of religion, how would you know? Religious fundamentalism refers to a strict adherence to the specific theology doctrines, typically characterized by a literal interpretation of the religious texts, something that we can relate to. We were raised in a family where it's the Bible says it, therefore it's fact.
Right.
You base it off the Bible. Yep. Religious fundamentalism, it's in our blood, dude.
Well, no, I mean, not anymore.
Not anymore. I bled myself.
We're filtering our blood. I bled myself.
Hashtag Brita.
Hashtag Brita.
Fundamentalists often hold unwavering beliefs in the absolute authority of their religious teachings and reject the flexibility of interpretation. Now, let's get interesting.
Okay.
Comparing the injured veterans to the controls, researchers found that those with injuries, especially in the okay. So I'm trying.
You're fine. Just go for it.
I'm trying to also not say the biggest of words, but you do need it. Especially in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex showed increased religious fundamentalism.
Because of the head injury?
Because of the head injuries. This link was mediated by reduced cognitive flexibility and openness. The study thus suggests that our brain structure, particularly the prefrontal cortex, plays a significant role in shaping our beliefs and capacity for religious diversity. So basically what they found is in the 119 veterans that had, all of them had damage to their prefrontal cortex from the Vietnam War compared to the other 30. And the data shows that most of the 119 veterans with prefrontal cortex damage are now religious fundamentalists because they're saying that, or that's what they're hypothesizing, is the damage to the prefrontal cortex is what makes them so fundamental in their religious beliefs.
Okay. So the conclusion of this study is saying if you've had a significant head injury, you're more predisposition. You have a predisposition to fundamental religious belief.
In the prefrontal cortex, yeah.
In the prefrontal cortex.
If you got hit in the back of the head, it might hit your hippocampus, might lose memory. So that might be different. But if in the prefrontal cortex.
Like I know that. So this is specific to Vietnam veterans. The study, so like the ones that have head injury, 119 people versus 30. So the numbers are a little
off. I mean, you don't need too much of a control. You just need something to bounce it off.
Yeah.
And if most of the 30 are not fundamentalist,
religious,
hyper evangelical Christians that believe the word as like, even if they're religious, but they're like, oh, I have some interpretations of it my own. Like they're thinking like with curiosity, whereas the 119 that have prefrontal cortex damage are not. Now,
interesting.
So my brain is like, cool, that's a fun little study we did. Let's take it a heap of a lot further. And so my suggestions for further research would be to conduct a study comparing the prefrontal cortex of religious fundamentalists with non-religious individuals to determine if any differences in brain structure or function exist, primarily in the absence of physical trauma. So I would be interested to see if you take the physical trauma out of it. If we had, let's say, 1,000 fundamentalist Christians versus 1,000 non-fundamentalists, even if they're still religious, but just non-fundamental, that would be the best control, I think, so that everyone still believes a religion, to see if there's damage in the prefrontal cortex, because that would be so fascinating to see if, most of the people who are fundamentally Christian or fundamentally religious have brain damage, possibly.
Oh my God.
But dude, it would make sense on some of this unwavering like beliefs that fundamentalist Christians will die for. Would die for. But let me take it a little further.
I mean, our father did karate.
Yeah, I mean,
you think he got a shin to the head?
Let me get further, because it could get even a little more interesting. Yeah, everyone could have some sort of brain damage for sure, but to have an actual lesion in the prefrontal cortex like they found with these veterans,
for sure,
is a pretty big, like, you have some brain damage. That part of your brain is no longer functioning instead of it just being not functioning properly.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like dark spots in the MRI.
Yeah, because a lesion in the brain is an actual like dark area.
Yeah, cancer.
Yeah, whereas a functioning brain would be like everything's still going past, whereas it's not going past here. You're not using that part of your brain. Right. So you actually, the people with brain damage can't think this way that we're talking about, thinking creatively, thinking outside the box. Yeah. So if differences are observed, particularly any indicative of brain damage, this could lead to the hypothesis that religious practices and not just physical injury may influence these changes. And so I would hypothesize that the practice of the religion over a long period of time could cause this brain damage.
Oh, so you're reversing it. Like,
that's what I'm saying. And this is not the study.
So you're like, if you could study like people that have been religious fundamental fanatics for like 40 years without wavering, like 40 years of religious fanatical belief and fundamentalism. And you're like, we're going to do brain studies on like 100 of those people. Versus like 100 just not fundamentalists, but whether you have a religion or don't have a religion, just like a collection of different people that are like not fundamentalists, but maybe they say they're Christian, maybe they say they're Catholic, maybe they say they're Jewish, maybe they say they're Islamic, blah, blah, blah.
Just not fundamentally living their life based off of religion.
And you would want to be like, and do these people have any head injuries? No.
Yeah.
So like they would have any head injuries, and you would be curious if religious fanatics have head injury trauma in the prefrontal cortex.
It doesn't even need to be head injury if we just found any brain damage in the prefrontal cortex.
I'm just trying to really understand this. You're saying that it's possible that like lack of curiosity given due to a cultural and society's pressures and norms around that fundamentalism could lead to brain damage because of the lack of there being that 100%. Awareness. A lack of curiosity could lead to brain damage.
That would be my personal hypothesis. I don't think there's any science to back that up. But
we
do have science. Do what?
You can do the study?
Hopefully. That'd be awesome. I'd love to be part of that study. But we do have evidence to show that when you stop using parts of the brain, it shrinks. And if you stop using parts of the brain long enough, they dissipate.
Wow.
The anterior mid-cingulate cortex is the part of the brain that keeps us tenacious. And so when we were talking about doing cold therapy with Jonathan, that's the part of the brain that's getting activated. People, it's proven in science, live longer when that part of the brain is bigger. That means they've done more things they didn't want to do in their life. They've put themselves through more struggle. So like getting in a cold bath you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway, and that part of the brain gets more neuroplastic. So my theory would be being a religious fundamentalist, being born into it, We were born into it. And that part of our brain, hypothetically speaking, there's no science to back this up as of yet, could have just never really been being used. And when it was, it felt so uncomfortable and so afraid that we always avoided it. That there could be, I don't even want to use the word brain damage because that's just so like characterized as a negative thing. It could just be less functioning brain activity.
Like atrophied. Like a small muscle.
Prefrontal cortex.
Like if you don't stand for a year, you can't walk until you get your muscles back up, which will take like crazy shit.
Exactly. And like how have we healed is we talk a lot about plant medicine. What does plant medicine do? It causes extreme neuroplasticity to help parts of the brain that have atrophied or died off activate again.
So then do you know if certain psychedelics or plant medicines have like activations in the prefrontal cortex?
They have, neuroplasticity in the entire brain.
Okay, everywhere.
Yeah. There's probably more specificity in certain types of the parts of the brain that get more neuroplastic, but the whole brain gets incredibly neuroplastic. That's kind of part of the healing side of plant medicine is the neuroplasticity we force.
It blasts you with curiosity. You're like, oh my God. And then you come out of it and you're like, I am so curious about everything now.
Yeah. And so it's got to be the prefrontal cortex for sure.
It's interesting. It's like, if curiosity is the fertilizer to evolution, then psychedelics are the catalysts to that fertilizer. It's like a match.
Totally.
So and you have to light a fire, well, you need the match to light. So you have to scratch it on something. What do you scratch it on?
A scratcher.
It's like a psychedelics. Psychedelics.
Yeah, the whole brain's on fire.
Heat.
Just to conclude here, lastly, another hypothesis I was thinking of that we've seen in the church. And so I was just kind of like, it would make sense if we take away the physical trauma, because that's what this study is based on, physical war trauma to the brain.
Yeah, it's very specific.
So if we take that away, other things that cause trauma are things like child abuse, are things that happen in your childhood. If you were what we call a drug baby, whatever you call it, where your mom was drinking a bunch of smoking and heroin, you're going to have some brain damage. And a lot of those people end up possibly becoming fundamentalist Christians I'm just saying from experience in just our church. There's a lot of people that have very traumatic upbringings, so much trauma, whether it be abuse, whether it be sexual abuse, whether it be drug addiction. It's always like, oh, I found God when my life was ending and everything was terrible. Makes me think, was there brain damage trauma? Because you can have brain damage just from a trauma happening, just from being sexually abused. You have trauma to the brain.
Totally.
And if that happened to be in the prefrontal cortex and then you happen to become a religious fundamentalist, it actually might all relate back to just being traumatized.
Yeah. And love it. Great study.
Thanks, man.
Great story. And I think that I don't think everything stems from trauma, but I think that God, I'm forgetting his name right now. He became pretty popular on YouTube and stuff. And he was on some really popular podcasts, but he's like a really amazing psychologist that talks about how so much of our depression and anxiety comes from generational trauma and childhood trauma. And so going deeper into that trauma, which you and I totally connect with, and I'm such a believer, but I just don't think it's all trauma based. But I mean, injuries define life. If you play basketball, break your arm, you're going to be in a cast and be playing basketball again until your arm heals, and that takes 9 months. So injuries have direct consequences that require recovery, healing, and then a re-strengthening, and then normally it's stronger, right? And so whatever injuries that maybe have come, not talking about specific brain injuries, physical, which you can't undo that.
Yeah.
But going back to those traumas and recasting them, right? Going through the healing process, which is you need to reset those bones. It's there's so much similarity,
totally,
I believe, to the process of healing physical trauma to emotional trauma. It's excruciating. And it takes a long time to get that neuroplasticity and grow those neurons.
Totally.
And I love what you did where you flipped it, because it's I'm so curious. Can we do brain scans on us? Can you hurry up and get your degree so we can check our brains?
I would like, that's big part of why I want to do it, man. It's just to scan my brain.
It'd be like, look at mine. It's like, dude, your entire prefrontal cortex is black.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, you don't have one.
You must
That explains so much.
Yeah, you're like, I've been trying to be curious. I've been trying to figure out what that even is.
Every time I think outside of the box, I go right to a circle. What? I don't know who I am.